Dan, in recognition of your hard work, but in lieu of a raise, you're hereby entitled to 1 day of executive treatment as administered by your direct superior, Jodi. Please enjoy. Thank you, AutoTrader.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ilika.
Why, hello.
Won't you join me?
Don't mind if I do. This is quite nice.
It's all yours. Where to, Mr. Ilika?
Why, the countryside, of course.
You got it, sir.
For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that. Well, guys, if you're wondering what the point of this car is, you're looking at it, specifically me. This is the point. You're gonna spend, what, 240 grand to start on a Maybach S 580. It's not to drive it, it's to be driven. So Jodi's gonna get to her thing in a second here, but I just wanted to first kick things off with how ridiculous this is, how much legroom I have back here. First of all, I'm 6'3". I always tell you guys, I'm fully stretched out. Yes, I've got that seat all the way forward, and we'll get to why, but this is crazy. This is the lap of luxury. I gotta say, this whole treat from Jodi is off to a nice start.
Enjoy it while it lasts, Dan.
Fair enough. All right, Jodi, why don't you tell them what's going on with the drive here?
Absolutely. So as the chauffeur today, I'm going to be reviewing it as the driver. And I know this is a car that is meant for someone to be driven in and not necessarily to drive. However, I'm happy to report that as a driver, I'm still loving everything that is going on in here. So the main point of this is smoothness and comfort for your passenger. So as a driver, this car makes it so easy to drive smoothly. You can try to drive it like a hooligan, but it's like way too dignified for that. It won't even do it. And so there's a couple reasons why this car drives so smoothly. One of them is that it has a ridiculously good air suspension. The other is that it has adaptive dampers, and it works with a camera-based system that scans the road ahead to check for potholes and imperfections, and then before it gets there, it adjusts the suspension so that when you drive over them, it's like they don't even exist.
It'll also warn you of deep ones, which is crazy. That voice comes on and she says, caution, pothole ahead.
She's a very lovely lady.
She is, very
always has our back.
And she suits like kind of the vibe of the car, I think.
One thing to note about this Maybach is how absolutely stinking long it is. So we just ran over some tracks. Did you even feel that, Dan?
I didn't feel it. I certainly heard them, and I think that was the big wheels, right? These are like 21s.
Yeah.
But yeah, you literally don't feel, only like the worst of the worst makes its way into the cabin. But the wheelbase is part of that, right? It's, you know, having that length takes the harshness out of those bumps because it just kind of has that opportunity to really absorb them.
Yeah, absolutely. So nose to tail, this Maybach is 18 feet long. And just to put that into perspective, a Ford F-150 Lightning is only 1.5 feet longer than this sedan.
And we use that as like kind of a point because the F-150 Lightning is like that conventional, you know, current conventional pickup truck, right? It's like a crew cab, full crew cab with a short box. So pretty standard, but rather than just say an F-150, it's like, hey, when you see an F-150 Lightning, because those are starting to pop up, they're gonna be more common than this, which is pretty crazy to think about. Yeah, it's barely longer.
Yeah, it's barely longer than this, and I know it might seem like a handful to drive something that is this long. However, it is actually quite easy because this one has the optional rear axle steering package. So the rear wheels can turn 10 degrees instead of 4.5 degrees, and that shortens the turning radius by a whole 2 meters. So I've been pulling U-turns like it's nobody's business, and this Maybach is surprisingly easy to maneuver in tight parking garages. It's very easy to park, and as a driver, that is something I am very grateful for.
I noticed earlier this week when I was driving it, like I ripped a quick U-turn, and I thought it was gonna have to be like a 3-point turn. I was in a parking lot, and I just could not believe how tight the turning circle was. And then I also noticed it when you came to pick me up the other day, and you were backing into the space, and I could see the rear wheels turning. And usually with rear axle steering, it's not that pronounced, but 10 degrees is significant.
It's a lot,
and
yeah.
it's cool to actually see those rear wheels like pointing in different directions.
And
it's
I've had
neat.
people sitting in the back who have told me they can feel the wheels moving
Totally.
while I park. which is
You
really
actually
cool.
can. It's really, it's a little weird at first, but it does really help. I mean, it helps you, and it just helps that, again, that overall vibe, even from the back seat. Like, I can tell that I'm in a lot of space, but I can also feel that kind of like, you know, sensation of it shrinking as you're turning, especially on some of these tight country roads.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to do a quick pass of this truck.
Do it. Rip it.
and
Driver, rip it.
And it's a really good opportunity to talk about the speed. So I wouldn't necessarily call this car fast. It is swift.
Yes.
And so what that means is that, like, off the line it's not super fast, but the speed builds very progressively, and it's just so smooth. And before you know it, you're at like 200 kilometers an hour, and you can't even feel it because everything is so buttoned down.
Well, because it was built to cruise the Autobahn, right?
Exactly.
It's supposed to take you from, you know, Berlin to Munich, and I can have a business meeting back here.
Close
while
some deals.
Exactly, while you're doing your thing. Now, also, we should point out that all of this talk about, like, it doesn't feel quick. Yes, it weighs whatever it is. I think it's like 5,200 pounds without people in it. So, you know, once you add me and my pandemic belly, you know, it's creeping up there, but it'll still do 0 to 100K in like 4.5 seconds.
Which is crazy considering
ridiculous.
how huge this is.
Yeah.
And the other thing I really like about how this drives is how, like, it feels like it's floating.
Yes.
It really glides, and it feels like it's floating because you don't feel anything underneath. And also, you can't hear anything.
Yeah,
it's so quiet in here.
Earlier this week, Jodi and I were cruising around, and it was kind of windy, and you just couldn't hear it. It's crazy how well insulated it is from the outside world. And then also, we should talk about the engine, because I've had some questions this week about what's powering this thing, because a lot of people think a car like this, you know, needs a V12. I personally don't think so.
In back then, they used to.
Of course.
These days, the technology has gotten so good. So this has a bi-turbo V8.
Yeah.
It is one of the best V8s out there.
It's amazing.
And it also has the EQ boost system, which means it's a mild hybrid. And basically, it's a starter generator, but what it does is it makes stuff like the stop-start system super smooth. And
Hold on, we got to talk about that, because I have to say, past Mercedes models, I remember when Mercedes introduced its ignition stop-start, it was very jarring, especially as time went on. The more engine restarts that happened, that starter motor would really start to get burnt out, and you could feel it. Like, and it didn't matter whether it was a 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, 8, it was just very present. And this is very, very smooth. It just, like, you barely notice it. And then the other cool thing about EQ Boost is you can actually, I mean, you can't really feel it, but when you're driving, you can see the tack needle stop. It'll drop to 0 when you're coasting, so you know it actually is saving you a little bit of fuel.
The other thing I like about EQ Boost is that it acts kind of like a turbocharger, so it allows you to get extra boost without impacting fuel economy, which is really cool.
Now, Jodi, usually you throw to me for the numbers, but since this is my day, I think it's time to shine the spotlight on you and see how your memory is.
My memory of numbers is really bad, so let's try this. So this V8 puts out 496 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque.
I'll have to believe you.
Did
'cause
I do
don't
it?
even have the numbers in front of me, so I didn't even look. I'm telling you. You told me not to worry about it, so I'm leaving it to you. So guys, let us know in the comments if Jodi's wrong.
It is your special day, Dan.
Thank you. Now, we should also talk about fuel economy. Not that I think the average Maybach owner would care, but I think it's just of interest, let's say.
So currently we've already put about 550 kilometers on the Maybach, and it's clocking in at 13.4 liters per 100 kilometers.
Not great. I mean, I guess it could be worse, you know, in terms of like trucks and stuff like that. Just generally speaking, this thing is heavy, but obviously that's not ideal, even with that mild hybrid system. Yes, it's only mild hybrid, but Imagine if it didn't have that and how much worse that fuel consumption would
be. I was honestly expecting it to be much higher, so I'm actually pretty impressed that it's not as high as I thought it would be.
I think the thing for me that's weird is like Mercedes claims this is good for like 9.8 on the highway, and that's hilarious. There's no way anyone's getting 9.8. If you happen to watch this and own a Maybach, let us know if you're getting 9.8, but I don't think that's the case at all. Now, because I'm the passenger, I can tell you guys that this car has everything, but not all of it is included in the $240,000 base price. And that does surprise some people, although those that understand the kind of minutia of the premium market know that no automaker is giving you everything for the base price. There's gonna be some stuff you gotta pay for, starting with this paint job. Two-tone paint, a big attention getter, but that's gonna set you back $20,000. And then, speaking of chauffeuring me around, Jodi, this has the executive package. It's got this chauffeur system, so I can move this passenger seat all the way forward. Yeah, I know it obstructs your visibility of that right side mirror just a little bit, but that's how I get all of this mega legroom. Now, here's the problem. It's got these two screens on the backs of the front seats, so you can do all kinds of stuff, control all the different systems. You can even have meetings back here. There's a camera and a microphone built right in. Super cool, but I guess partially problematic is when I'm sitting back here with it all the way forward, I can't touch that screen. But I've got this handy little tablet right here, and I can pull up all the controls that I have on that screen right here in the palm of my hands. That is very neat. This isn't the only car to do it, but I really do dig when I have this system because it just makes things so easy. Now, that means I can do stuff like control the massaging seats, I can adjust the stereo, I can pull up navigation, absolutely everything that Jodi can do from the front seat, I can do back here. I can control these sun visors, I can open and close these sunshades. It's really, really handy. Some other cool stuff about this car that I absolutely love, again, part of that upgrade package. Back here, I got a fridge. Now, obviously, this is Canada. I'm not gonna be drinking champagne back here, but there are bottle holders, as well as these two cup holders that are specifically made for the champagne flutes that come with that executive seating package. They're sterling silver plated, I believe, but they also have magnets in the bases so that even though there are these little claws, they're magnetized so that if you're ripping it down the Autobahn, they won't spill. Very thoughtful. All those little details are super cool. Now, unfortunately, those didn't make the trip over from Germany. Apparently they got hung up at customs or something, I don't know. So we don't have them with us today, but I have a feeling that when Maybach tells you that kind of stuff, you can probably take its word that it put the thought and the engineering into it to make sure that it's up to the standards. Especially, I think those glasses alone are like $1,800 a piece, Jodi.
Are you serious?
Yeah. They're made by some German
Oh, wow.
craftsman who's been doing it for a long time, and yeah.
The life of a money bag.
Hey, let me tell you about it. It is quite special. Even just the smell in here, and you asked me the other day because Jodi sense of smell, it's virtually non-existent.
It's not very good. And I was like, Dan, can you describe the smell to me? And what did you say?
It just smells like luxury. It's technically it's called mood number 12, I think, or number 12 mood, which you told me is like specific to Maybach.
Yeah, and I had other people in here and they said it just smells like money.
Yeah, it's so nice.
It's hard to describe. It just smells like rich stuff.
Yeah, like it's not, it's not like leather and mahogany and that. It just smells very nice. It's very pleasant. Now, we do have it like cranked. It's like 3 stages of like fragrant level, and we have it maxed out. Well, I guess I do because it doesn't matter to Jodi. But it is very nice in here, and it just kind of lends to that kind of like ambience, right? The entire experience is created by how quiet it is, the smells, the richness. Jodi was laughing at me because we were driving around the other day and I smelled this. Now, this is a back pillow. And I smelled this, the quality of this leather is amazing. And even the construction quality of these pillows. They have these embossed Maybach letters on the back side of it, I guess. And then the Maybach logo up here is debossed on this side. And it's just the attention to detail and the quality, the stitching, it's flawless. There's no other way to describe it.
Yeah, I had some other people in here the other day and they said, wow, even the air conditioning hits different. So
Yeah.
they really thought of every single little detail to make this experience as opulent and special as possible.
Yeah, and it has that like HEPA filter, so it's filtering out all the pollens and dust and all that stuff. And you can actually pull up a screen here and monitor the air quality, which is hilarious. I guess maybe if you're this rich and you might have a, you know, kind of like that extra level of sense of like, hey, I think it's a few particles per million too high for me back here, driver.
Turn it down, sir.
But, you know, you said it. They thought of everything, and yes, this one, as it's stickered, it's something like $296,500. You can feel every penny of that.
And I know it sounds ridiculous, but it does feel like it's worth the money they're asking for.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, like, you know, it's a little bit cliche, but B, I would hate to dunk on the S-Class, but because it's such a good car, but this really does make the S-Class feel like a Toyota Camry. I know.
No, you didn't.
And I don't mean that as an insult. I just mean, man, this thing really elevates the S-Class experience to another level.
So I know as the chauffeur, I'm not as special as Dan is back there, but they didn't forget about the driver's comfort either. So I have a lot of really great amenities to help with comfort and everything. Even the driver's seat has massaging seats, it's ventilated, it's heated. I have wireless phone charger. Everything I need as a driver is here. And so even I get to experience the luxury as you know, the help.
And the other thing we didn't talk about is that the stereo has those, I don't know what they're called, but they're like basically you can feel the bass from the stereo in your seats, and that goes for the front seats as well as the back seats.
Yep.
And then you thought it was ridiculous. Let's say I do have a meeting, I can open this, I can pop out this little table. So if I'm having a meeting, there are 6 USB-C ports back here. It's like a Best Buy. It's honestly, you could have like a whole display of phones or whatever back here. Like it's inside. I guess, you know, those German business people, they're busy. They got a lot on the go, a lot of burner phones, you know, making deals. But yeah, there's literally nothing you can't do in this car. I really mean that. It does feel like it's got everything.
To recap, this car looks like money, smells like money, and drives like money.
There's not much to not like about it, but one thing I can say I'm not so happy with is that this experience is over. Well, Jodi, I gotta say, today has been a very special experience, and it's cool to get a glimpse at how, the 0.1% of the world lives. And I gotta say, I really like the sensibility that comes with this Maybach. As silly as that might sound, yes, it's still flashy, but it's definitely not quite as flashy as being chauffeured around in something like a Rolls-Royce Phantom.
I would say only slightly less flashy because this thing got so much attention wherever we drove it. And I do think it has something to do with that two-tone paint job, but this thing is stately and it has so much presence. And I do love that even though it's a car to be driven in, it's still a super opulent experience, even for a chauffeur like me.
Well, excellent point, and you've worked hard today, so I would say you're officially off the clock. Thank you.